Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Princess Zara Aga Khan, member of the steering committee of the Aga Khan Award of the Architect, the representative of government of diplomat community, Mr. Luis Montreal, Farouk Shani, director of the Aga Khan Award for the Architect, Rahim Firozali, president of council of the Portuguese Somali community, distinguished guests and friends. As a diplomatic representative of the Somali Movement in Portugal, I will be very happy to welcome today at the Somali Center. First of all, I would like to convey how honored we are that steering committee of Aga Khan Awards for the architecture are convening in Portugal and undertaking review project for the 2020-2022 cycle. Welcome to Portugal. We hope that light and hospitality of Lisbon will inspire your important work. The Aga Khan Award of Architects has a special relation with Portugal. You may recall 2013 awards of ceremony took place at St. George's Castle, which include other events such as a concert of the Coroner's Quarter at Monastery of Geronimus and seminar of the Champalimau Foundation. Since then, multiple exhibitions and engagement with Portuguese architects have been taking place. Taking advantage of the presence of steering committee members in our city, two conferences have been organized. Today, lectures delivered by the architect Meisa Batayneh, one of the members of the committee, which will allow us to learn from the experience on choosing resilience, leadership, and architectural practice. And tomorrow, conference delivered by Her Excellency Sheikha May Al Khalifa on investing in culture in Bahrain experience. I would like to thank both for the generosity and sharing their time and knowledge with us. The Aga Khan Award for Architect is one of the more prestigious prizes in architecture in the world, and is also reflect of key ethic principles which guide the Somali movement, notably the improvement of the quality of life of the population and the strengthening of inclusive modern societies where all citizens can find their place irrespective of race, creed, or origin. This can only happen if we manage to create a right balance between the truth needs of the people and natural and cultural environment of the place where they live. In the process that may lead to dialogue with other cultures, a significant factor since pluralism and tolerance must always be a forefront of our concern. These are principles that we share with Portugal and which led to deepening of our relationship between uncommon value, which brought forth, among many other collaboration, the signature of the 2015 of the Agreement of the Republic of Portugal for the establishment of the seat of Somali Movement in Portugal. His Highness said himself, and I quote, "You may ask, as may have asked then and since, just why should the Somali Movement become so deeply involved in the world of professional architects? The simple answer lies in my conviction that architecture, more than any other art form, has a profound impact on the quality of human life. As it has often been said, we shape our built environments and then our buildings shape us." End of the quotation. Architects should be therefore be a forefront of our concern when we discuss the improvement of quality of life at such a critical time for the future of mankind. It goes far beyond building. It is related to living. It seems simple, but it's not.
Thank you, Maisam Bhai. It's always a pleasure to be here, but you forgot to say something. When this building was inaugurated, there was an Alkan Award exhibition here, where the president came here. So you forgot. You see, when I get to your age, I'm going to be the same, forgetting things. But he's my younger brother. He is my brother. And we've had all these years since 1995, I just remember, we've been collaborating, and the force that he's been always helpful in introducing the award to the Portuguese community. And this is very important because one of the activities of His Highness, that it doesn't only concern the Jamaat, but it concerns the larger Ummah. And that is one thing which is an important aspect to know, because he has been responsible for the good of the people. That doesn't matter where they are. Today I have the privilege of having a number of our committee members here, the steering committee of the award. The steering committee of the award is chaired by His Highness, and it has been every 3 years or 6 years, the members, they change. And they are the ones who decide on how that 3 years should be handled, worked. They choose an independent master jury, and they guide the award office where to go in the directions. And one of the main issues they have today, these two, to explore more and more the details of what is needed in architecture today, so they can guide the master jury when they meet what to see, how to look at architecture. Because we don't look at architecture as just an object. Architecture is how you live in a building, and that's the most important thing. Tonight, we have got the privilege of having Ms. Meisa Batayneh. She is a Jordanian architect, born in Taiwan, and most of her life being in different parts of the world, studied in America, and went back to Jordan to start her own practice, which has become one of the most successful practices in Jordan and in the Middle East. So she's got offices in Abu Dhabi and in other places, and she's been a member of, she's been very active in judging architecture, in looking at architecture, in guidance, and not only that, is working on with a lot of causes, although today we had discussions that there's no difference between men and women, but she has been someone who's been working with the women leadership within the Arab world, and that's how she's known. Meisa, she's been a member of our previous master jury, so that's how we came. Actually, I met her some years ago in Amman. I had the pleasure sitting next to her and saying, because she was already active working on our architecture, and she will explain herself, her relationship with the Alkan Award for Architecture. Meisa, please.
Thank you, Farouk, for this very warm introduction. And I'm honored, Your Highness Princess Zahra, for your presence here, and honored to be with all of you. Thank you for the Aga Khan Award for Architecture and the delegation of the Ismaili Imamat for inviting me to be here with you. As an architect, I'm usually asked to talk about my work. But Farouk calls me and he says, Meisa, you're going to talk about leadership. And I said, yes. Hung up the phone and I said, what have I just agreed to? And as I was preparing for this talk, I started making parallels between work, the way I do design and work and architecture, and the way I actually managed my life or designed my life. And realized that, first of all, there's a philosophy and there's a purpose for any given architect. We have a big idea once we get a problem, because we're problem solvers. I have a big idea. That should be my guiding star. And then I visually draw a model or a sketch so that I can communicate it to whoever I have to communicate it to. And then I have to make it happen, which means I put it into action. In the same way, I realized living through my life, I'd use the same methodology. I have to draw it, I have to see it, and it has to be aligned with my purpose. So today, I'm going to start with a question. I would like you to take a minute to think about it, or a moment to think about it. And the feeling you get, try to hold it and think about it. Has anything bad ever happened to you that turned out for the best? Okay. I was raised and grew in a Muslim family. And in my family, relating to this question, we had two verses from the Holy Quran that were constantly repeated. عَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, meaning you might hate or dislike something that you will understand in time the benefit. And the other one, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, and it's repeated twice in our Holy Quran, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, meaning that after hardship there will be relief. And I would think about it as there will be light after darkness. So after darkness there shall be light. Today I'm going to talk about how to hold that feeling, how to expand on it, how to rise when we fall, and how, most importantly, to choose resilience to do that. And resilience, by definition, is the bouncing back after you have had, a difficult event happen to you. And it's not something that you are born with, it is a skill you learn. And I would like to illustrate it for you. Life, as you know, and you've heard this before, it's like a pulse of ups and downs, and this is how we know we are alive, right? But the black line that you saw are the events that come and, like a tsunami, hits you. And they could be up and they could be down. They could be euphoric, something good, and it could be traumatic. And what I say is, whether euphoric or traumatic, this model is very relevant to me, and it's different to you, or any of you. This is a personal issue. The idea is that the peak, the euphoric point, this too shall pass, and the traumatic point, this too shall pass. And by understanding that, we don't fall in ego, nor we fall in despair. So what happens when we don't inject the energy required for us to go out of that traumatic point? I'll just go back to show you. If we don't have, resilience is basically the ability to come up back into our life journey, right? And if we don't do that, what will happen? We derail. And when we derail, what happens? We go into anxiety, we go into sadness, we go into, sometimes we're overwhelmed, heartaches, and some people, they go all the way into coping mechanisms, and we're finding this after Corona, that a lot of people are losing hope, and they go into drugs and what have you, because they never used that skill of resilience to go back up the curve, back into what will make them live a meaningful life. I'm going to share with you 3 stories, because this is personal, like we said. And I'm going to make it personal tonight. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 of the traumatic ones. I had many euphoric, but today I'm going to choose the traumatic because they actually shaped who I am. The first one is about my profession and how I got into architecture and what happened. I graduated 81, and I was offered a job by someone who won the Aga Khan Award. You know him very well, Jafar Tuqan, he's a prominent architect, and I was honored to be asked to work with him. He had just moved his office from Lebanon, from Beirut to Amman, because the war was happening and all of that, so he moved his offices, and I was so happy to be chosen. Went into this office, we were 13 people. The atmosphere was amazing. We were doing work together. There was a lot of teamwork. The environment was so conducive to good work. The man himself was amazing. He's a poet. Actually, he's a musician. And it was such a beautiful feeling. And we started winning almost every competition. And the company grew and grew and grew. And 4 years later, I found myself, I want to say, exiting. No passion, no motivation. I started doubting why I was there, but I was embarrassed. What will I tell people? I'm working with the best architect in the region. What do I say? I was young, pain, loss. And one morning I woke up and I followed my heart. I said, no, I'm not happy. I shouldn't allow myself to stay. So I walked. So I exited, and then now I walked out. And as I was walking out, I felt this sense of relief, like a big rock off my shoulders. I had wings. Walking out that door, part of me was sad to leave the man, because I was fascinated by him. But a big part of me was happy that I left. Went home, and then realized that, what have I done? Again. To be honest, with the support of my family, who believed in me, said, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. Just decide. And I said, I want to open my own office. And they said, go for it. My husband was very supportive. By then, I had a daughter. And I was, okay, part of me was saying, you know, can I manage the two, whatever. So the husband said, go for it. I will support you. My father said, I'm proud of you. You know, all these beautiful words. I took a very small office of 3 people, myself and 2 part-timers. That's all I could afford. And we were working on drawing boards, T-square and drawing boards. There were no computers at the time. Again, beautiful times. I remember them with a lot of admiration because of the 2 people that were working with me. And something was still missing. 2 things, actually. One, I never learned how to run a business. How do you run an architectural firm? And I just started studying. There was a Danish friend who helped me out. He was a celebrity in teaching this kind of work. Understood PR, accounting, whatever have you. Again, that I got fine, but there's something that made me leave Ja'far, and I needed to identify what that is. And that was the culture of the company. The reason why the despair happened is because we lost the culture. And I came across a book. It's called Ove Arup. And I realized he had a speech. Ove Arup is a very famous structural designer who worked with Jan Utzon on the Sydney Opera House. And he said something that touched my heart. And I understood it all out of this statement. If you take care of your people will take care of your company. And that made all the difference in my life. And I started from there drawing a model for Mesa. I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And I drew it in a sketch, and I'll show you. I don't have my sketches, but someday I will share. But for today's presentation, I drew it like this. I said, I'm going to give 25% of my company to my people. And I'm going to make sure that everyone in this company is proud to be part of it. And not only this, I started drawing a manual. Ove Arup did something called the O speech. I decided to draw a manual because I wanted it to remain an ever, evolving document. And I said, whoever is going to be part of that 25% has to go up a ladder. But I noticed when I was designing the ladder that in the beginning, you're supposed to have a little bit of skills, right attitude. And then when you become an associate, you have to have technical excellence. But then I wrote passion. And as I was writing what would the characteristic of the people that will become partners, as we go up the ladder, they will become less about the tangible and more about the intangible. Meaning they have to, by the end, before they become senior partners, they have to become holders of the vision, aligned with the purpose. People who have big hearts and big souls. And that meant that I had to communicate this to every single person that comes into Maisam. And you can never stop communicating, because people need to constantly be reminded that you are here to grow. You are here to be motivated. If you're not happy, you don't have a smile, don't come to work tomorrow. So this was my first life story, and I learned the following. I'm not going to lie to myself by saying that I didn't have to work on the power to let go. When you give 25% of your company, it takes a minute to do that, or minutes to do that. So I had to learn about the power of letting go, the power of communication, as I said earlier, and the beautiful power of the collective. We're one. We have each other's backs. And I insist, no matter where I open, in Abu Dhabi and wherever, it's a company with a family feel. So we can grow, but that family will never will never let go of. So that's my first story. And my second story is more about relationships. My brother, who actually inspired me to study architecture, had his own company as well. And it was called Office for Mediterranean Design. And he was a very, very fine architect. And we were sitting one day, and this friend comes and says, I would like you to design us a hotel in Saudi Arabia. My brother looks at me and says, how about we joint venture? I said, for sure. So we started working on this hotel. It turned out to be a success. The next thing you know, we are consultants to the Saudi royal family, doing their work in Saudi and Egypt, all the way to Los Angeles, and all under a joint venture agreement. And we were doing so well that he said, why are we working two separate companies? Two accountants, two everything. Let's join. I said, yeah, of course. So we started writing our understanding of how to do one company. And then we got stuck on the Maisam model. He said, no, we'll go by my model. I give bonuses. And I said, but that's not what I signed up for. That's not what I promised my people. How do you expect me to go back on my word? And he said, no, trust me, this is better. In time we'll see what we can do. Here I got stuck again, because we are a very close family. Because we were children of a diplomat, we were always strangers in the country we were in, so we were extremely close, love beyond imagine. My parents were excited that we were going to work as one. The team members were excited because we were doing amazing. And here I am saying, I'm going to stick to my value system. This is not going to happen. So I walked into a meeting, I said, Saad, we have to talk. I'm not going to bend here. So we didn't agree. And it broke my heart, because I was so worried that so much pain will happen, especially in the family, that I drew a model. One of my friends calls it Mesa's orbit model. Actually, he's a motivational speaker, and he always puts Mesa's orbit model. Again, I draw. When I need to find a way out, I have to strategize, and I have to draw it. I have to see it as an architect. So sometimes you have to love people from a distance and give them the space and time to get their minds right before you let them back into your life. But the one I truly like is the quote by Gibran Khalil Gibran, who says, let there be space in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. So what this is saying is, sometimes you have to push people away for you and them to find a way back, but let the love be the connector. And this is Mesa's orbit model that says, the first orbit are my children, is what I said. I put my 3 children, I said, no matter what, they don't leave that orbit. I brought them to this life. This does not apply. So I got that out of the way. And then I put my mother and my father, because I'm very connected. And then I started placing my brother on the second orbit. And I said, he has to be pushed to the third, just for a while. And I wrote a statement. I said, life is about not giving sorrow, but not taking sorrow. So most important is not to take sorrow. I was taking sorrow, and I was just saying that's my right not to do so. So I came up with this model, and I'm using it all the time. with friends, because I believe people come into your life for a reason. You don't push them away. Some people make the mistake of pushing people outside their orbit. People come into your life. Every single person that comes into your life comes for a reason, to make you a better person. So this is what this says. This says that there is nothing wrong with sometimes, with a lot of love, to push people so that you can find the way back. And then I discovered something, that boundaries are so important for us to be standing tall. And love is not good enough. People get entitled with too much love. You have to balance love with firmness. Everything in life is about balance, night and day. Everything is in perfect balance. So I said, okay, and I started writing down what is it that I have to be. So I learned a lesson through this model that I have to be balanced, left, right, the yin-yang sign, left and right brain. And what I learned here, that if I don't take care of myself, how can I take care of others? So I am the center of this model. Non-negotiable boundaries if it is aligned with your purpose. People come into your life for a reason, and take charge of your life. This is my life. Nobody can take charge of my life. And then, like I said, balance everything. Love, firmness, empathy, assertiveness. And with time does heal. The third story, which is a double curve down, 2005, His Majesty and Her Majesty appointed me to be a member of the Amman Commission with the objective to save the city. The city of Amman was losing its soul. And they said, we want to bring architects, planners, philosophers to see what we can do. These high-rise buildings started mushrooming in a city that this was alien to it. Amman, if I want to describe it to you, for those who visited, it's a hilly city. Everything is 4 stories. We call it the city of steps because it's rolling hills. It's a city of the 5th elevation, meaning everybody overlooks everybody else's rooftop. So much character. And then these giant high-rise buildings started mushrooming because of the money that was coming from investors, as we were talking, David, this morning. So we said, okay, we sat in many meetings, and very interesting that Jafar Touqan, my boss, the only boss I ever had, was a member. And I found an opportunity to work with him, and I really loved it because I had missed that. So now in another capacity, I'm working with Jafar Touqan, and we wrote a statement that was very profound. A livable city is an organized city with a soul. That was the theme of the Amman Commission. And we said, what is it we need to do? 1, let's start with a master plan. How could a city not have a master plan? Let's look into zoning. Let's look at public transportation. In Jordan, the main reason why women participation is low is because of lack of public transportation. So we started looking at that, and the third layer that we concentrated on was the green layer, public parks, pocket parks, what have you. And we started inviting all these specialists around the world. Jan Gill helped us with the green layer. The mayor of Curitiba came to tell us how to create the BRT. As you know, Jordan is not a very rich country, so we couldn't afford, we wanted to use something that developing countries or underdeveloped countries will do. And then the Arab Spring hits as we were in the middle of all of this. And you don't know what happened. Apparently, we were stepping on the toes of master developers, of transportation private sector, landowners, and they found us as scapegoats to send a message to the government. So we were hit collectively and personally. And so that was one big hit. And then another thing happens. Mesa was under threat. by then didn't have the Abu Dhabi office open. So here I was torn between these two. The only way to do it is to meet, right, and discuss what we were going to do. The commission said we stand behind our work, and we said we will not engage. They play low, we play high. So that was the stand there. Went to Maisam, to the partners now. I had partners by then. I said, what do we do? They said, whatever you do, go for it, we will back you up. But we want one thing, for you to approve that we open an office outside of Jordan as a backup safety net. That's where the Abu Dhabi office was opened. So the high road can be narrow, bumpy, but the view from there is magnificent. So we took the high road, and what's interesting about this model, and I drew it because I wanted to understand it beyond that discontinuity that happened to me, is that if you always treat people from your value system, it's attractive. But people try to come in. And if you notice, I drew the higher plane and the lower plane. People try to come up to disturb. You treat them from your value system, not from theirs, no matter what. And I use it in everything in life now. With my family, with work, with partners, with everybody. And so what we did as Amman Commission, we did not engage. We started something called focus groups. We went into media campaigns protecting the project. 2 months ago, 10 years later, we celebrated the opening of the BRT. 10 years later, it happened. Okay, the whole program did not necessarily, all of it happened, but at least we capped. The high-rise buildings are no longer there. I mean, completely stopped. We have a master plan now for the city, and we have at the beginning of a solution to where people are more important than cars. So, treat people from your value system, align with your purpose, and cultivate a strong community. Because in this particular example, I realized that my inner resilience alone was not good enough. I needed the collective resilience. When I went back to my company and they stood by me, it helped me, it gave me more strength to survive this fall. So 3 principles. 1 is faith. That's an overarching to everything, to the stories. Faith in God. And I always say something, do everything you have to do in your power. And then eventually you have to give it to God. Surrender, Islam. Sallim amrak li Rabbil Alameen, and then He'll take care of it. If it's meant to happen to you, it will happen. If not, then it was not meant to be. But also, I believe that faith in yourself. I can't tell you how many times I stood in front of a mirror saying, Mesa, you can do this. You can do this. That gives, to believe in oneself is very important. The second one is purpose. And the strongest example I can think of is His Highness, the Aga Khan. What kept the award running for 40 years, and I'm telling you, I'm an architect that had to always inspired. It was like a guiding star for architects because it was very clear. People come first, and we do this to elevate the quality of human living. And that's what held, and this is having a strong purpose that is, and by definition, by the way, purpose is for each and every one of us to find what makes us unique, because not one of us is identical to the one next to him. So we are totally different, but we have unique traits, and by definition, purpose is to identify what makes you unique, but you only enjoy it when you give it and you serve others. So put it to the service of others. And the third is process. It can remain talk, if we don't put it into practice. We build what we design as architects. And in life, it's the same. If we have a life model, we have to put the process, make it happen, and that is when it becomes a reality. So, setting your strategic goals and putting them into action. So I will end with this to say that if we agree that each one of us has the responsibility to take care of his or her life, and if those, and resilience is about a skill that you can learn. Each one of us has to design his own necklace out of these. But everything I said is there, and the most important one is something I call the positive bank, memory bank. And what that is saying, that every time we go through a challenge, there's an imprint, whether it's a challenge or it is an opportunity. There is a trace in the back of our minds that we need to bring back to play when we need to fight the next fight. So let's add to this positive memory bank, and let's enjoy life. Let's add fun to life. Remain adaptive, because something is very interesting. I learned recently that with consistency, there is predictability. So if we are consistent in the way we deal with things, the way we raise our children, with that comes predictability. And predictability is very important for resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mesa. That was great. And I think not only the people here, all the people watching from the television far, they've enjoyed your talks. It shows us the way. You're a guru. If you've got any questions and answers, please don't be shy. And Mesa will give you the lessons of your life.
I found your presentation extremely motivating. I found the models that you provided very inspirational for men and women that are seated here and listening to it. And I think we can all take lessons away from what you've said, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you said.
Thank you. That was really, really engaging, what you told us. And brave of you also to put your life out there like that. But your orbit model is something that I've lived with also. Kids first, work afterwards, etc., etc. And you kind of expect it from a man, so I agree with what you said. You don't expect it from a woman necessarily to have such clear priorities. But I also find that men find that very hard to deal with. Did you find that?
Yes. I was lucky to be raised in a family that my father used to say, your work is your armament. Almost like you can't give it away, it's your armament. So I was raised in a family that believed. And I was lucky to move into my husband's family, who also, my mother-in-law is the strongest businesswoman of her generation. So my husband was raised in a family where the mother is. But to be an architect, and since I put my life out there, I'm going to put it all out. I used to come home at 5 o'clock in the morning. And there is no Jordanian, I promise you, that will accept that. So my husband at one point, although very supportive throughout, he said, Mesa, I can't accept. And I said, okay, then you come every night at 6 o'clock and you make sure you entertain me, because I'm going to be bored like hell. And if you have, anyway, but in a nice way, in the most loving way possible. I said, I appreciate, I put it in the most diplomatic way. And then, and he said, no, let's take it, let's be serious. I said, listen, I know what's keeping me till 5 o'clock. I will compromise by not going into competitions for a few years until the children grow. So I had to reach a compromise. when I felt the children were old enough, the irony, the first competition I entered, I won. And it's always in the back of my mind, what if I didn't lose these 10 years? But it was worth it. Because my daughter the other day said, Mom, I wish I was as present as you were. The word was present. So that, I think, is key. Apparently, I didn't notice what I was doing. When I was with my children, I made sure that I'm present. So thank you for that question. I really, really appreciate it. Somebody has a question?
No questions?
Somebody?
Well,
If no questions, I would like to share with you a model that now, after Corona, I drew it for this talk. And this model I'm trying to be inspired by, so I designed my own life strategy around this other challenge. And this says that it is up to us when whatever loss or whatever heartache that happens to us, if we let go very quickly and deal with it, then we have a longer new beginning. And the same applies. The longer you take to accept change, the shorter the new beginning. But what is beautiful about this model is that curves in the middle, and it's equal whether up or down, is the transitional phase where you have to learn to reflect, accept, put a plan with a goal, everything we talked about. You have to allow for a transitional period, because being resilient is to accept, go through the exercise, and then start new. But what's motivating about this, and I'm using it with my team now, is that the shorter it is, the faster we let go of and get over the challenge, the longer the new beginning. So I wanted to share that with you.